How did you join the flag?
Well, I've got a wife, 5 kids. I think that's enough reason. I want them to have a country to be raised up in like I was. I wasn't forced to go to school with niggers. I wasn't forced to eat with them. And I want them to have at least the right that I had.
Marvin Griffin. His campaign managers are signing open and unsecured notes at the C&S National Bank. Now, as evidence of that fact, the Reverend Julius Caesar Holt from Brunswick, Georgia, an active agitator for the NAACP, has sent out an NAACP newsletter in which he calls upon the people to support my opponent in this race. Now, my friend, Julius Caesar Holt came to Brunswick about the time that Martin Luther King moved into Atlanta from Montgomery, Alabama.
The violence became so widespread that President Ulysses Grant got the Congress to pass the Enforcement Acts of 1870 and 1871, making Klan violence punishable under federal law.
And he came for the same purpose, and that was for the purpose of creating disturbances. Now, having leaked Mills B. Lane as financial backer of my opponent for obtaining the Negro block vote, it is not surprising to find the NAACP somewhere close to the money bag. Now, one only has to look at the Atlanta newspapers every day to be able to determine or discern who those people are backing for governor. So, my friends, it has been established conclusively by my opponent in this governor's race that he has the solid backing of Mills B. Lane, the NAACP, Martin King, and the Ohio-owned racist integrationist press in Atlanta, Georgia. The question is, shall we develop our great resources, our great institutions, and our way of life in Georgia under the laws of Georgia, or shall we surrender to goons and hoodlums and let the rule of the jungle take over? That is the question. My friends, shall we fight for the peace, the good order, and the dignity of our great state, or shall we submit to mob action and acts of violence where private rights and property rights are trampled underfoot?
Governors were members of the Ku Klux Klan, not just in the South, but in the North. Legislators were members of the Ku Klux Klan. Baseball players were members of the Ku Klux Klan. Actors and actresses were members of the Ku Klux Klan.
Even President Warren Harding was a member, having been sworn into the Klan by Simmons himself at a ceremony conducted in the green room of the White House.
In the hands of a man who has the unqualified support of the Ohio-owned Atlanta Journal and Atlanta Constitution. This is not the time, certainly this is no time, to put your homes and your families and your businesses in jeopardy. I was proud to hear Federal Judge Robert Elliott say the other day that he considered it his responsibility to protect the rights of the majority, the same as he did the rights of the minority. That I shall do. I will not let these law violators destroy private business. I will not let these these law violators, my fellow Georgians, destroy your barber shops and your beauty shops simply because you want to select your own clientele. I will not let these law violators destroy your restaurants and destroy your hotels simply because, as your right as an American, you can sell and serve food and you can rent rooms to whomever you please. That is.
By the early 1950s, there were few reports of Klan activity, and it looked as though the Ku Klux Klan had disappeared. But that would change in 1954.
Will bring a total disrespect for all law in Georgia. Your property rights will be protected. This is the American way. This is the Georgia way. And we must maintain and preserve this way of life, or else we will have to surrender it to the law of the jungle. These agitators, troublemakers, and law violators will not, my fellow Georgians, make a Congo out of the Chattahoochee River in our state.
White Southerners saw an end to a way of life that they had been used to since the Civil War. They saw social integration in the schools of black boys and white girls and vice versa. And this was a no-no.
And it was almost inevitable that vigilante groups would form to try to prevent this Supreme Court order from being carried out.
And that is, I believe in the system of free and private enterprise. At the same time, my fellow Georgians, we must have everybody in this state, regardless of color, must obey the laws of this great state. Where is the protection to you and your homes and your property and your families? It will not be there if we do not require our laws to be obeyed in Georgia. Now, to outlaw picketing except in labor disputes, bona fide labor disputes.
The most powerful Klan organization of the 1950s was led by a paint sprayer at the Fisher Body Plant in Atlanta named of Eldon Lee Edwards.
All of the Christian civilization depends upon the preservation of upbringing of the white race.
Tell me this, Mr. Edwards, what will the Klan do?
In a 1957 interview, I asked Eldon Lee Edwards about his views on segregation.
Now, sure, we believe in segregation for the simple reason we believe in preserving, protecting God's work. He created the white man, he intended for him to stay white. He created the Negro, he intended for him to stay black. And we believe that Mongolization destroys both races and creates a Mongol, which is not a race.
It is against the law. I don't care who the Georgian is, black or white, to go over there on that man's property and try to ruin his business. Now, I'm not going to make any silly statement about banishing anybody from Georgia, or I'm not going to excommunicate anybody because the governor does not have that authority under the law. These law violators are going to have to obey the law, or I'm going to proceed in January under the laws of this great state, and yes, I will put them so far back into jail you'll have to pipe air to them. My friend, we are going to keep Georgia decent. We are going to keep Georgia decent if it takes the state patrol and the state guard to do it. If we had a weak-kneed moderate as mayor or chief of police in Albany, Georgia, what do you think will happen to Georgia if incidents like this Albany violation broke out all over Georgia at one time, and we had a weak-kneed fellow there. What do you think would happen? Well, it would fold up just as we expected it to under that kind of leadership. And they've got courage enough to act to carry out the laws of our great state. Now, I don't think we need, as governor of Georgia, my friend, any fellow who would go down to Albany, Georgia, and plead with Martin Luther King to quit. Who would never let Martin Luther King and his crowd get loose in Albany, Georgia. That's exactly what it is.
I say, ladies and gentlemen, we've got to make our stand. For every white man that dies at the hand of these filthy mobs, there are going to be hundreds of those no-good, goat-teated looking African jungle bunnies that's going to go down in the streets.
Let every man, woman, and child in this state join hands with me, and let's build an empire in Georgia. Let's promote this state, and at the same time, let's hold the line tight and say, you shall not destroy the good name of Georgia. You shall not turn this state upside down as Martin Luther King said he would. Now, my friends, I'll tell you what let's do. You join me on from now till September the 12th. And at the ballot boxes, let's turn that crowd upside down. And let's turn them out. Let's turn them out to graves. Let's turn them out to graves. My friend, we are going to keep Georgia decent. We are going to make everybody obey the laws of this state as we people selected our representative to enact. My friend, let me say to you, this is the most crucial state primary election that we have had in Georgia since the days of Reconstruction. Let us not be deceived. Let us not be fooled. Let's work, and let's work hard. So in conclusion, those who will march with me under this banner designed to develop Georgia and protect the rights of our people, our homes, and our families, those who will march with me, hold up your hands. Hold up your hands.
And so Marvin Griffin comes to Dublin, and thousands of his fellow Georgians come with him. Thousands of his fellow Georgians take their stand. They stand with Marvin Griffin. Next Saturday, the Griffin campaign will go to Marietta. Once again, thousands of Georgians will gather to reaffirm their belief in Marvin Griffin. Once again, thousands of Georgia citizens will take their stand, and they will stand with Marvin Griffin. If you are concerned about constitutional government, if you would like to do your part in preserving the Georgia way of life, come to Marietta next Saturday, August the 11th.